The hum of 18 steel beasts beneath your feet becomes a heartbeat after a decade. I've spent 15 years hauling freight across the Rust Belt, and you learn to find a strange comfort in that constant vibration. I've been piloting the same Black Peterbilt since 2011, crossing the borders of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia more times than I can count. Most people think this job is boring. They see the endless gray asphalt and the same repetitive exits. And sure, there's plenty of that, but what they don't realize is that the highway is a lens. It shows you things that shouldn't exist. I've kept a digital ledger, notes in my phone, voice memos recorded at 4 a.m. of the things I can't explain. I'm not saying I believe in ghosts. I'm just saying I know what I saw. 1 to 4 o'clock, story 1. The girl in the raincoat. This happened 7 years ago on a desolate stretch of I-77 South. It was late November, and the Ohio wind was cutting through the cab like a knife. I was hauling industrial machinery toward Charleston. It was 2:45 a.m., that dead zone where the caffeine stops working and your mind starts to play tricks. The road was a void, just me and the rhythmic flicker of white lines. I checked my mirrors, saw nothing but the abyss behind my trailer, and then my high beams hit her. A girl, no older than 20, standing on the narrow shoulder. She wore a bright yellow raincoat that looked brand new, which was strange because it hadn't rained in 3 days. She was barefoot, no shoes, no bags, just standing there with her thumb out, staring with eyes that looked like 2 holes burnt into a sheet. I didn't stop. You don't stop for hitchhikers at 3 a.m. in the middle of a forest. But as I passed, I felt a drop in temperature that turned my breath to mist inside the heated cab. 10 miles later, I pulled into a way station to clear my head. When I climbed out of the driver's seat and walked around to the passenger side to check my tires, I froze. There, on the inside of my passenger window, the inside was a single, small, wet handprint, and the scent of ozone and wet earth filled my cabin for the next 300 miles. The echo frequency, if you ever find yourself on Route 50 after midnight, turn your CB to channel 19 and then start scanning the static. You'll eventually hear him. We call him the dispatcher. It starts with a rhythmic clicking, like a telegraph. Then, a voice comes through. It sounds like it's being filtered through a tin can, distorted, old, and weary. Unit 704, you're off schedule. The bridge is out. Turn back at the willow tree. The first time I heard it, I laughed. There is no Unit 704 in our fleet, and there are no willow trees on that stretch of highway. But then a second voice responded. Panicked, younger man. I can't turn back. The brakes are gone. I'm seeing the water, Charlie. I'm seeing the water. Then, a sickening sound of metal twisting and a splash that sounds so real it makes your ears pop. I did some digging later. In 1974, a rig hauling steel coils lost its brakes on a temporary bridge during a storm. The driver's name was Mac. His dispatcher was a man named Charlie. They both died that night. Charlie of a heart attack while listening to Mac scream over the radio. Now, every night between 2 o'clock and 4 a.m., the airwaves play back their final moments. And sometimes, if you're not careful, Charlie starts giving you directions. The neon mirage last winter. A blizzard hit the eastern border so hard I couldn't see my own hood ornament. I was forced off the main road and ended up on a backcountry bypass. By 11 p.m., I was driving blind. Suddenly, a glow appeared through the whiteout. A neon sign, the Silver Saddle Rest Stop and Diner. It looked like something out of a movie. Pristine 1950s architecture, chrome siding, and a parking lot full of classic trucks. Bullnose Kenworths and old Macs that looked like they just rolled off the assembly line. I pulled in, desperate for heat. Inside, the air smelled like expensive tobacco and fresh coffee. A waitress named Mabel served me the best slice of cherry pie I've ever had. But I noticed something. No one was talking. The drivers sat at the counter, staring at their coffee, their clothes looking slightly dusty, like they'd been sitting there for decades. "Don't check the clock, honey," Mabel whispered as she refilled my mug. "The time here doesn't move. If you stay until the sun comes up, you'll never see another one." I didn't wait. I left my pie, ran to my truck, and drove back out into the storm. The next morning, when the sun broke, I realized I had been parked in a graveyard for old vehicles. There was no diner, just a rusted-out foundation covered in weeds and a pile of scrap metal where the silver saddle used to be. But when I reached into my pocket, I found a receipt, dated December 14th, 1958. I still drive that route. I still keep my journal. People ask me why I don't quit. I tell them that once the road chooses you, you're part of its story. So, if you're out there tonight and you see a yellow raincoat or hear a voice on the static, don't stop. Just keep the wheels turning. Because on these highways, the only thing more dangerous than the darkness is what's waiting inside of it.